There is an ancient fear that runs through the corridors of power, whispered in boardrooms, whispered in intimate conversations, and silenced in public debates. It is the fear of something that cannot be bought, manipulated, or controlled. The wisdom of a woman who has weathered storms, who has tasted her own tears, and who has emerged from the ashes with a clarity that cuts like a sharp blade. Why does this wisdom bother so much? Why does society tremble before women who no longer need to prove anything to anyone, who no longer beg for approval, and who carry in their eyes the dangerous gleam of someone who knows their own secrets? The answer is hidden between the lines of what has never been said, in the space between what is expected of a woman and what she truly becomes when she stops pretending she doesn't know who she is. A mature woman has achieved something that terrifies control systems. She is happy alone. She doesn't need external validation to exist. And this emotional independence is like a mirror that reflects the weaknesses of those who still live begging for attention. When a woman discovers that she can be complete without needing to complete anyone, she becomes an invisible threat to everything that was built on the premise of her dependence. But there is something even deeper in this forbidden territory. Something that causes eyes to turn away when a mature woman enters a room and speaks with the authority of someone who has already paid the price for the knowledge she carries. The heart of a mature woman is a deep sea of secrets, a living library of experiences that cannot be faked or imitated. She knows how to distinguish between passion and obsession, between love and need, between strength and aggression. And this knowledge, this ability to see through the masks we all wear, is what most bothers those who prefer to keep things on the surface. How many times have you felt that there was something being hidden about true feminine power after your 40s, 50s, or 60s? How many times have you noticed that there is a silent conspiracy to diminish, ridicule, or ignore the voices of women who no longer fit the mold of naive and moldable youth? They are aware of their qualities and defects. They know themselves very well and accept themselves with all their imperfections. And this radical authenticity is like a virus that can infect others with the dangerous idea that it is possible to live without masks. What you are about to discover goes beyond theories and assumptions. It is a journey into the most feared territories of mature feminine power, where truths lie that have been buried under layers of prejudice, fear, and misunderstanding. Prepare to dive into deep waters, where each revelation is a piece of the puzzle that explains why some women become so powerful that their mere presence is enough to change the dynamics of any environment. The secret that no one tells is about to be revealed, but only to those brave enough to face the naked truth about what it really means to be a woman who no longer fears anything because she already knows herself completely. The first territory we need to explore is that of emotional independence, that silent force that transforms a woman into an island of peace in the midst of chaos. When a woman discovers that she can be happy alone, without needing someone by her side, she breaks one of the oldest chains of social control. She works with what she loves, invests in herself, and sets aside time to do things that make her happy, alone and with her loved ones. This ability to value her individuality and dedicate herself every day to becoming better is like a beacon that illuminates the darkness of emotional codependency that permeates our society. But why is this independence so threatening? Because it exposes the fragility of relationships built on necessity rather than choice. A woman who doesn't need you to be happy is with you because she wants to be, and this subtle difference carries an emotional weight that many can't bear. She doesn't beg for attention, she doesn't accept crumbs of affection, and she doesn't negotiate her self-worth. When she looks you in the eye, you know you're being seen by someone who knows the difference between being together and being trapped. Emotional maturity is also evident in the way these women handle resources and planning. They know how to manage their budget, take care of their assets, and save for what they want. This financial awareness is not just about money. It is about personal power, about the ability to make choices without depending on the approval or financial support of others. It is about having the freedom to say no when something does not resonate with your values, even if it means giving up temporary comforts. This economic autonomy is one of the most solid pillars of mature feminine power. When a woman can support herself, she can choose who she associates with based on compatibility rather than need. She can pursue her dreams without asking permission, she can travel alone without having to explain herself, and she can make decisions about her life without consulting family committees. This freedom of movement and choice is what transforms a woman into a force of nature, unpredictable and uncontrollable. And herein lies one of the deepest fears of patriarchal society. Women who cannot be bought, emotionally blackmailed or manipulated through financial dependence. They have become masters of their own lives, architects of their own destinies. And this complete autonomy is like a mirror that reflects the emotional and financial dependence of many others, creating a discomfort that few can name but everyone can feel. The second aspect that causes so much discomfort is the way mature women deal with relationships and trust. They understand that trust is essential to any relationship and know that moments of jealousy are normal, but they do not allow insecurities to destroy genuine connections. This emotional maturity is the result of years of observing relationships that have foundered because of unfounded distrust, of having experienced firsthand the difference between love and possessiveness. When a mature woman enters a relationship, she is not looking for someone to complete her or solve her emotional problems. She talks about her plans for the future because she wants stability, not reckless flings. This clarity of intentions can be disconcerting to people who are used to emotional games, relationships based on drama and artificial intensity. She has no time for games because she knows the value of her own time. The loyalty of these women also operates on a different level. What keeps them in a relationship is the desire to share their lives with the other person because of their character and goals. They are serious about their intentions. They do not play with themselves or those around them. This seriousness can be interpreted as rigidity by people who confuse lightness with irresponsibility, who believe that true love should be chaotic and unpredictable. These women's ability to be polite and respectful with their partner's friends reveals another aspect of their maturity. They understand that having a relationship with someone means opening up to the people who are important to that person. They don't keep their faces closed or avoid contact because they know that this attitude only creates a negative atmosphere. This emotional intelligence applied to relationships is the result of years of observing how small gestures can build or destroy bonds. And perhaps most disturbing of all, these women take the initiative in relationships. They know they don't have to wait for their partners to do something. They have complete freedom to take the initiative in whatever they want. This proactivity breaks ancestral patterns of female passivity, of waiting to be chosen instead of choosing, of waiting for permission instead of making decisions. The third element that causes so much social discomfort is the brutal self-awareness of these women. They are fully aware of their qualities and defects, strengths and weaknesses. They know themselves very well and accept themselves with all their imperfections. This honesty with themselves is like a light that reveals the shadows of everyone around them, making it impossible to maintain illusions or fantasies about who they really are. Sometimes they are disappointed by their own flaws, but they still choose to be authentic because they know that only when we are true to ourselves can we create healthy lives and relationships. This radical authenticity is disturbing because it exposes the falseness of the social masks that most people wear on a daily basis. When you are in the presence of someone who accepts you completely, it becomes impossible to pretend that you accept yourself too. The ability to look at oneself without filters, to recognize destructive patterns and consciously work to change them, to accept praise without false modesty and criticism, without falling apart emotionally. All of this represents a level of psychological maturity that can be intimidating to people still struggling with their own shadows. These women have become their own best friends and their most honest critics simultaneously. This self-awareness also manifests itself in the way they deal with their bodies, their sexuality, and their place in the world. They become more aware of what they need and what makes them feel better. The simple idea of having a good body is no longer something defined by external approval, and what others say or think loses the extreme importance it had in their youth. As they mature, they discover that true beauty is an energy that emanates from within. And herein lies perhaps the greatest social fear. Women who do not depend on external validation to feel valuable, who do not modify their bodies, their personalities, or their dreams to fit into other people's expectations. They have become their own standards of beauty, created their own definitions of success, and established their own criteria for happiness. This total independence from external judgment is a form of power that few can understand or accept. The fourth aspect that causes so much discomfort is the way these women continue to learn and evolve. The desire to learn is another crucial aspect, because in a rapidly changing world, the skills that were relevant a decade ago may no longer be sufficient today. Mature women who continue to seek out new knowledge and skills prove that learning is a never-ending journey, and this constant intellectual hunger can be intimidating for people who have settled into their comfort zones. This intellectual curiosity is not just about acquiring information, but about understanding patterns, connecting dots, and developing wisdom that goes beyond academic knowledge. They observe, question, experiment, and integrate experiences in a way that builds a deep understanding of how the world works. This experiential wisdom cannot be bought in books or obtained through online courses. It is forged in the fires of life lived consciously. The way these women process information has also changed. They have developed internal filters that separate what is useful from what is noise, what is truthful from what is emotional marketing, what is worthy of attention from what is just distraction. This capacity for heightened discernment can be uncomfortable for people who are accustomed to accepting information without question or following trends without critical reflection. Continuous learning also manifests itself in the way they relate to change. Instead of resisting new things out of fear or laziness, they embrace transformations as opportunities for growth. This mental flexibility combined with emotional stability creates a powerful combination. People who can adapt without losing their essence, who can evolve without denying their roots. And perhaps most disturbingly, they learn from both successes and failures, from both praise and criticism, from both moments of joy and periods of pain. This ability to transform any experience into wisdom is like an emotional alchemy that turns lead into gold, that finds opportunities where others see only problems. They have become masters of the art of extracting valuable lessons from any situation. The fifth and deepest territory of mature feminine power is the connection with an ancient wisdom that transcends intellectual knowledge. The heart of a mature woman is a deep sea of secrets that holds in its most intimate chamber the palpitations of wanting, of loving with awareness, and of feeling with emotion, intuition, and challenge. This emotional depth is not dramatic or unstable. It is like a calm ocean hiding powerful currents. This intuitive wisdom manifests itself in ways that may seem mystical to those who have not developed this sensitivity. They can detect lies before they are spoken, sense hidden intentions through subtle gestures, and pick up on emotional energies that others don't even notice. This heightened perception is the result of decades of observing human behavior, of having been deceived enough to develop an internal radar for deceit. Their connection with this ancestral wisdom is also revealed in the way they honor natural cycles, respect times of rest and activity, and recognize the importance of simple rituals that nourish the soul. They understand that life is not a constant race, but a dance between different rhythms and intensities. This deep understanding of life cycles allows them to live with more fluidity and less resistance. The fear of this ancient wisdom is related to the fact that it cannot be controlled, manipulated, or artificially reproduced. It is a form of knowledge that emerges from consciously lived experience, that grows in the silence of reflection and deepens through the acceptance of paradoxes inherent in human existence. This wisdom does not follow formulas or methodologies, it simply is. And here we come to the core of the social fear. Women who have connected to a source of power that does not depend on external approval, social validation, or material achievement. They have found an inexhaustible source of inner strength that makes them immune to many of the manipulations that work on less centered people. They have become emotional fortresses, beacons of stability in an increasingly chaotic and superficial world. The truth no one dares to whisper is that the fear of mature women's wisdom is, in reality, the fear of our own superficiality being exposed. When we find ourselves in front of someone who has already walked through the fires of life and emerged not only whole but polished like a precious stone, we are confronted with our own reluctance to make the inner journey necessary to reach that level of authenticity. They have become unforgiving mirrors that reflect not what we pretend to be, but who we really are beneath the social masks, professional titles, and external achievements. The best-kept secret is that these women have discovered something that consumer society works tirelessly to keep hidden, that true happiness cannot be bought, that inner peace cannot be outsourced, and that personal worth cannot be determined by external metrics. They have cracked the code of emotional dependence that keeps entire systems functioning, and their mere existence is living proof that it is possible to live differently. That is why they are feared, not because they are aggressive or destructive, but because they are profoundly free. The wisdom they carry is dangerous to structures based on collective emotional immaturity. In a world that profits from insecurities, anxieties, and desperate searches for validation, a woman who has found peace with herself represents an economic and social threat. She does not buy products to fill emotional voids. She does not accept toxic relationships for fear of loneliness. And she does not remain in situations that do not nourish her soul just for the apparent security. Her inner contentment is subversive. What is most haunting is the realization that this wisdom is available to anyone willing to make the necessary inner journey. It is not the privilege of a select few, but the natural result of living consciously, of facing inner shadows rather than projecting them onto others, of choosing growth over comfort. These women are prophets of a human possibility that we all carry within us, but that few have the courage to fully explore. And so we come to the end of this revelation with a deeper understanding. The fear of the wisdom of older women is ultimately the fear of our own unrealized greatness. They show us what is possible when we stop diminishing ourselves to fit the expectations of others, when we embrace our complexity instead of simplifying it to please others, when we choose radical authenticity over superficial approval. They are living reminders that aging can be a process of refinement rather than deterioration, that every scar can be transformed into wisdom, and every loss can be alchemized into depth. If this content touched something deep within you, if you recognize truths that you had already intuited but had never seen expressed in this way, please like it as a sign that you too are ready for this journey of authenticity. Share it with others who need to hear these truths. Comment with your own reflections on this important topic, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the deepest territories of the human experience. Together, we can create a network of people committed to genuine growth, authentic relationships, and the courage to live according to our deepest inner wisdom.